Once they start having the convulsions after 7 drugs, then they put them on anticonvulsants. They know in actuaries it's going to kill a large percentage. They then even take insurance policies out in the government on them, like Walmart does with those greeters. Oh, it's so nice. They hire the old lady. You wonder why she looks like she's about to die. They know in actuaries the payout. They can put a couple mil on her. The family never even knows about it. And when she dies while she's working with them, they take the insurance. Oh, you thought they hired the 81-year-old lady who looks like she's about to die on a cane to say hi to you? She's there to die to make them some insurance cash. Oh, but they're cold-blooded. See, you're not ready to wake up to the full horror, so you're not going to be able to resist them. Knowing is half the battle. The devil's greatest trick was he didn't exist. So I'm sorry this is so hardcore, but this is the facts. Now, first I thought we would, before we get into all this evidence of the current stuff, Bayer Corps Science, Crop Life America, human pesticide testing policy. And I first learned about this 6 years ago in a New York Daily News article that's been taken down now, but we have it saved at INFOWARS.com, where they were taking little black kids, I mean, and others, but mainly blacks, and testing pesticides on foster children until they died. And the little kids would try to escape, one 7-year-old, and they strapped him down and gave him the pesticides and killed him. And the CPS workers had a moment of clarity and came out and said, we're not going to do this, and tattled. They got fired. The killing continues. So there is that report. I can show you a document cam shot of that. And Bayer Corps Science plotted human pesticide testing policy. And because when this came out in 2005, they were killing people with pesticides. They tried to get a law passed or a policy passed that they could do that, and we have links. Just type in foster children pesticide. You'll get all the mainstream news. But they're like, oh, it was kind of not nice to kill them, but they did. Nobody gets in trouble. Okay. Here's another one. This is Associated Press, saved at INFOWARS.com. It's part of the First Amendment to defend us against tyranny. Feds tested AIDS drugs on foster kids, lethal ones. You know, it's the AIDS drugs mainly killing people. These are like hardcore, basically chemotherapy drugs. Again, this all broke in 2005. The rabbit hole went very, very deep. This is Organic Consumers Association alert EPA to allow pesticide testing on orphans and mentally handicapped children. Again, that's after they got caught, like when Bush got caught spying without warrants or torturing, which was illegal. He tried to then get it legalized. Remember, that's standard policy, so there's the Associated Press. Here's the Israel Insider we have saved. In my film Endgame, we have local Israeli newscasts. 110,000 children were radiated. Over 40,000 of them died. They give them different dosages. The U.S. paid for this. They would take the brown-skinned Sephardic, not the Ashkenazi, and radiate them to death, murdering them, many of them on the spot. They'd actually cook them onto the table. And don't worry, I've got, Department of Energy admits, from the 40s through the 80s, now it's all secret, radiating children. They put little babies, foster babies, in these basters and hit them with such high-powered radiation that in some of these reports, they would actually be cooked onto the metal. That's nice government, though. They wouldn't stage 9/11. Everything is fine. And again, Government Employees Union tell EPA don't expose kids to pesticide experiments. And that's peer.org. EPA scientists, you can go read that in press releases. Actually, EPA scientists have come out 3 separate times, 90+% of them, thousands signing doctors, chemists, you name it, saying don't put sodium fluoride in the water. Causes cancer, but you know what? They're not going to stop because they love killing you too much. Here it is, WOAI. We saved this at the time. That's why we save it. It's down now. 2 out of 3 foster children in Texas on psychotropic medication. A doctor in the system here, we played the newscast at the time, went public and said, yeah, I've seen kids come in totally healthy, and within 6 months, they're on 7 drugs. Within a year, they're on anti-convulsion drugs, and then they die. So because they get more money when they make them special needs. And if you're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you cry for mommy when they take you into a big, dirty facility with all these other kids raping you, 7 times more likely to be sexually abused, Justice Department's own numbers, and CPS care, 7 times more likely to get an STD, 5 times more likely to be generally abused. When you come out, 5 times more likely to end up ending up in prison. Unless you become a CPS worker. The weird thing is a lot of them become CPS workers because it's part of the pedophile network they're now part of. So we've got a guest audience today. Aaron's mom's here today. I'm afraid she's hearing a particularly hardcore show. But you're down from Houston way, aren't you? You're down in Sugar Land. Right by you in Houston's one of their main kidnapping facilities. Good to see you, though. Good. Oh, we have the Endgame video. Before we go to more articles, Let me just show you. When we were exposing this in 07, I had medical doctors and others on. People like Dr. Breeding were, he's a psychologist, were at the state hearings. He said, you need to go dig it up. I was there. There should be an online video. The head of the state board, the head psychiatrist said, yeah, we do have 2/3 of the kids on psychotropics. Suzanne Hupp, representative, you know, she survived the Luby shooting. She said, hey, 2/3 are on these drugs and they're dying from them. And how do you just take little kids and put them on drugs that aren't even approved for people, you know, under the age of 10? And he goes, they come from bad gene pools. A eugenics answer. So let's go to a clip from Endgame.
The United States and England are currently testing pesticides and highly toxic experimental drugs on tens of thousands of healthy foster children, many of which die as a result of the experiments. By 2007, more than 20% of the U.S. population were on some type of prescription antidepressant. But in the case of foster children, a sector where the state has total control, at least 2/3 are forced to take a cocktail made up of, on average, 7 psychotropic drugs. Chairman of the Texas Society of Psychiatric Physicians, Joe Burkett, testified before the State House Select Committee hearing on psychotropic drugs in foster care and shocked the public when he said that 2/3 of foster children in Texas had been placed on psychiatric drugs because they were very, very sick from a bad gene pool.
A lot of these kids come from bad gene pools. They don't have stable parents making good decisions. Besides the gene pools, they've then been traumatized by abuse, neglect, and problems, and then they've been traumatized by separation, and all those things predispose to mental illness.
The Western world is now implementing eugenics pre-crime policies. Fetuses are now being pre-screened according to family histories of crime. From Portland, Oregon.
When I was in the movie theater and first showed Endgame, people laughed, and then I showed more articles, London Guardian, where they drug the woman to get the baby, and it's drugs that cause brain damage. 3 U.S. states have been doing it for 5 years. Oregon was the first, and now England's doing it. And at birth, they put cameras in many of the homes now of parents in a pre-crime, and if you don't, the baby, if you ever do anything wrong, they go throw them in a big dirty dungeon with pedophiles. I'm not kidding. Again, this is what's all going on under everybody's nose. My words cannot describe to you what I've personally seen fighting these people. And I'll be honest, it was so horrific that I had to quit or I would have become violent. I had to quit going and physically looking at them, because when you're in a room with a bunch of them laughing with a crying family for no reason, and the kid's crying and they're getting off on it, and you can tell they're taking the kid off to rape them, let me tell you something. I mean, let me tell you this, and by the way, if this is freaking you out, it should. This is going on everywhere right now. Over 1 million kids they get. And they always have ads and TV, oh, this was a bad parent beating their kid. There are bad parents, but they're many times more likely to be abused by the system. You understand? Statistically, it's a no-brainer. 5 to 7 times better off getting rid of the CPS entirely. In the old days, if somebody saw somebody really hurt their kid, there were criminal charges. Or in the old days, if your neighbor saw you really hurting your kid, you come over, hey, Bill, you shouldn't be doing that. You got a problem at work. You want to do that? Do that to me. And that's what it's come down to. The state is a bunch of scum. And look, all the literature, they say they got bad gene pools. Eugenics never went away. You know, that's what Hitler did. He got it from the U.S. and England. 35 states, if you made less than a B+ in school, they sterilized you. Endgame, I have copies of the newsreels and the report cards. Have you forgotten all this? See, they don't tell you this on the news, folks. That's why this show is so valuable. That's why I've gotten so angry and aggressive. Because refocusing on this, literally, I feel like I could kick the butt of about 20 people right now. And that's my normal instinct when children are being hurt by a saber-toothed tiger or by a tribe that's invaded your area. It's time to stomp and go after some people. That's a normal instinct. How did you lose your normal instinct that when you hear a baby squeal, whether it's a bear or whatever, our ancestors killed cave bears twice the size of grizzlies with their bare hands and with spears. Our ancestors defeated all of what nature challenged them with our minds and our guts. And now look what we've become. We let our own species do this to us. I don't know what's wrong with you out there, but it's time to get angry. It's time to recognize the enemy. And it's time to come after them in the info war, to identify them as the criminal guilds they are. And it's time to ask God to lead us and guide us and direct us in the prosecution of the war against these people. Like I said last week, their genocide against us starts now. We're fighting back. The war has begun. And when they kill us and shut us down and persecute us, it only makes us stronger. We're drawing the enemy out. How can you sit there and worry about your reputation and your career while they're raping kids right now? And those kids are begging for help, just like Kelly Thomas begging for his daddy as a full-grown man as the wolves tortured him to death. None of us are safe until we stand up. What is wrong with you? I know, sodium fluoride, massive brainwashing, it doesn't matter. You still got the human destiny in you. You still got the instincts, and they can override all that right now. My problem is I got even more here. Look at this. Texas foster care investigation. Child as young as 3 are drugged with antipsychotics. Folks, you can't even give these unless it's state-approved to psychotic people because they eat your brain. We got that report. And here's the one that sent me back down the rabbit hole of looking at all this information. 3-year-old CPS are overprescribed psychotic drugs. Overprescribed? They're not even approved in people under 10, antipsychotics. Under 5, they don't care. Hundreds of thousands are on it. Over 2/3, they take little kids, and when you cry, the big fat demons, they don't feel like raping them, which is most of them. They just sit there and warehouse them. And I got articles where they're drowning all the time, being killed, being raped, being sold into sex slavery. CNN reported like 5 years ago, 3,000 plus missing kids in Florida. When they started finding them with their heads chopped off in different countries and in graves, the story just went away. I mean, the big thing is they fly these little kids out and torture them and rape them. And I'm bad because I don't like that. I'm bad because I still got red blood and will face the reality. I'm bad? No, you're bad out there making jokes about this. Let me tell you, those that serve this evil consciously are one thing, and they're going to get theirs. But those of you that think all this is funny, let me tell you, that's why you're so miserable and cursed. Let me tell you, you will be brought to justice one way or another. I know it, okay? I have total certainty. In fact, okay, let's just stop right there. You've got a compilation of videos, don't you, There's so many. Let's go to a compilation. You can watch the whole thing at MyFox. 3-year-olds and CPS care overprescribed psychiatric drugs. It's like, oh, the robber overprescribed bullets he shot into the child's body. He shot him 50 times. He only should have shot the child 5 times. You know, or you know, the robber only hacked the child up with you know, should have hit him with a hatchet 6 times instead of 45 times. Let's go to a compilation of these. I've always told you, I mean, I've seen the CPS. It's either fat, pot-bellied, little skinny mustache pedophile archetype men. That's a small drone sect. It's mainly giant fat women. Half the brigades are black. Another 40% are white brigade of pot-bellied women, giant people. I mean, I'm not bashing fat people, just it's always the same. I've fought these people. They always gibber, giggle, love it when families cry, suck up the pain. Well, they're psychic vampires. That's what they are. They're psychic vampires. And of course, these demons are going to wonder why they get cancer when they're 42. I mean, in fact, I can tell you right now, these women, you enjoy your life because you've got an express elevator to hell. Okay? But that's who these people are. Yeah, it's faces of death. And again, nothing against people that are fat from all the poison GMOs, the rest of it, Lord knows I've been. I'm saying I've never seen a CPS worker that didn't look like a brain bug from Starship Troopers, okay? And I mean, that's all I've got to say. And that's because it's a spiritual thing. And again, I've been in the courts. The enjoyment that they get is incredible. Let's go to the faces of death, what they do to a little girl. I know I shouldn't talk bad about them because they're the little girl they keep grabbing because the mommy got tested positive for marijuana or whatever. You know, no criminal record, kid's fine, this is what you do to them. And then you put the kid on a bunch of drugs and turn him into a drooling zombie. Let's go to the crimes against little girls right now.
Here's a picture of Rachel that was taken 1 week before CPS took custody of her. Here she is in January, after 6 months in CPS's care.
Well, every time we'd go to see her at visitation,
she was skinnier.
She would get skinny and she'd, just be lethargic, not wanting to move.